Why is it that most men are ignored, dismissed, or manipulated? Because their minds are weak, swayed by emotion, chained by opinion, and broken by fear. But you, if you learn the art of mental strength, you will never be dismissed again. Instead, they will whisper your name with both fear and respect. In every court, in every hall, and in every battlefield of life, there exists a power greater than wealth, sharper than any sword, and more enduring than armies. It is the mind, when trained with ruthless precision, that makes others tremble. Tonight, I, Niccolò Machiavelli, shall reveal how to build a mind so strong it terrifies people. Power, my friends, is rarely what it seems. Most men believe it resides in armies, in wealth, in titles bestowed by kings, or in the loud approval of the masses. But they are wrong. True power begins not in the sword nor in the coin, but in the mind, and more precisely, in the way the mind projects itself into the world. This is what I call the illusion of power, a weapon so subtle that it does not require bloodshed to conquer, nor riches to enslave, but only the mastery of appearances. Consider this: when two men enter a room, and one carries himself with hesitation, his eyes darting, his shoulders weak, while the other walks with calm certainty, speaking little but with an air of absolute confidence. Who is it that commands the room? Not the richer, not the louder, but the one who wears the mask of strength. The illusion is stronger than the truth, for men rarely look beneath the surface. They believe what their eyes first tell them. If your mind can sustain the posture of power, even when you possess none, others will yield as though you were born a ruler. The weak reveal themselves by their need to prove, to explain, to justify. The strong terrify without speaking. Imagine standing before your rivals and offering no defense, no excuses, only silence and certainty. They will begin to imagine reasons for your composure. They will invent strengths you do not yet possess. Their fear of the unknown within you will outweigh any truth they might uncover. This is the brilliance of the illusion. Your enemies will build the tower of your power with their own suspicions. But to craft this illusion requires discipline. A man must train himself to betray no sign of weakness, not even in the smallest gesture. Your eyes must remain steady, your words measured, your body unmoved by insult or flattery. For once they see you ruffled, they will know you can be broken. Power is a performance, and the stage is life itself. The illusion must be rehearsed until it becomes your second nature. You do not show confidence only when it is convenient. You live it, breathe it, wear it like armor. Think of the lion. It does not roar constantly to prove its strength. It sits in silence, and its very stillness carries more terror than the barks of 1,000 lesser creatures. When it moves with purpose, and when it strikes, the blow is final. So too must your mind become. When you speak, speak with weight, so that even your silence carries meaning. Let others chase approval. Let others drown in endless explanations. Your power comes from the mystery you cultivate. And remember this truth: the illusion of power is not deceit, it is strategy. For men are creatures of perception, not reason. They do not weigh the facts with calm objectivity. They respond to appearances, to symbols, to confidence that suggests certainty. If you wish to command, you must master their perceptions. Show them what they fear, and they will believe it is real. Show them strength, and they will submit before you have even lifted your hand. This is why rulers of old adorned themselves in gold, why generals wore armor polished to gleam in the sun, why leaders of men spoke little yet commanded armies. It was not wealth, nor iron, nor words alone. It was the illusion, the careful crafting of an image that struck awe in the hearts of those who watched. To neglect this truth is to enter battle naked. For even the sharpest sword cannot save a man who appears weak. So I tell you, let your mind become the sculptor of your presence. Train it to mask every doubt, to bury hesitation beneath calm, to project strength even in your weakest hour. For once men believe you cannot be shaken, they will tremble before you, even when you feel the ground shake beneath your own feet. They will fear the image of you more than the reality, and in this fear, you will find your first and greatest victory. Men live not in truth but in perception. The world is not governed by what is real, but by what people believe to be real. And so, if you wish to command power, if you desire to make your mind so strong that it terrifies, you must learn to master not the facts but the appearances. It is not enough to be wise. You must appear wise. It is not enough to be strong. You must appear unshakable. And it is not enough to be virtuous. You must appear righteous when it benefits you, and ruthless when it is necessary. For perception is the coin of power, and he who spends it wisely can purchase obedience without ever unsheathing a blade. Look around you. Men are blinded by the surface. They do not see the gears that move beneath. They only see the mask presented before them. And here lies the secret. If you can control the mask, you control their judgment. You need not even possess all the qualities you project. It is enough that they believe you do. Appearances conquer hearts faster than truth, and fear of your image is often stronger than the reality of your being. A ruler is not loved for his virtues, but for the way those virtues appear in the eyes of his people. A general is not feared for the battles he has fought, but for the aura of inevitability that surrounds him. And a man in the court is not respected for his honesty, but for the perception that he cannot be deceived. It is the shadow that moves men, not the substance. To master this is to master power itself. Understand this distinction well. Being loved is fragile. Being feared is enduring. Love is fickle. It bends with the winds of fortune. When prosperity fades, love evaporates like morning mist. But fear endures storms. Fear binds loyalty more tightly than affection ever could. A man who fears you will hesitate before betrayal, for he dreads the cost. A man who loves you may betray you if love cools, or if another offers greater comfort. Therefore, it is better to be feared than loved, if you cannot be both. But mastery of perception is not about brutality, it is about calculation. To be feared does not mean to be hated. Hatred breeds rebellion, but fear mixed with respect breeds obedience. You must strike a balance, so that men admire the strength they cannot overcome, while knowing that to cross you invites ruin. This balance is the art of perception. It is the ability to appear just merciful enough to be tolerable, just ruthless enough to be unchallengeable, and just distant enough to remain untouchable. To achieve this mastery, you must become an actor upon the grand stage of life. Every word, every gesture, every silence is a performance. If you speak, let it be with confidence that brooks no argument. If you fall silent, let your silence suggest depth, calculation, perhaps even menace. If you grant favor, let it be seen as a deliberate gift, not a careless whim. In all things, the impression you give must be crafted as carefully as a painter layers his colors upon the canvas. The crowd does not know your heart, they know only the mask you show them. So let your mask terrify when it must, and charm when it suits you. Yet be warned, to neglect perception is to court ruin. Many men of talent have perished, because they believed their abilities alone were enough. They thought truth would defend them, honesty would shield them, skill would lift them. But the crowd does not see truth. They see appearances. They do not weigh facts. They respond to impressions. And thus, a lesser man who understands perception may rise above a greater man who ignores it. Consider the fox and the lion. The lion terrifies by strength. The fox survives by cunning. But the ruler who masters both terrifies and deceives at once. He appears noble as the lion when strength is needed, yet slips unseen like the fox when cunning is required. This duality of perception ensures survival, for men cannot prepare themselves against what they cannot predict. Appear one way today, another way tomorrow, but always in control of how they see you. In this lies the perfection of mastery. And so, train your mind to study how others look at you, to measure their reactions, to refine the image you cast like a sculptor chiseling stone. Do not waste your strength trying to change the nature of men. Instead, bend their perceptions to your design. Make them see what you wish them to see. Fear what you wish them to fear, and believe what serves your purpose, for in perception lies the leash that binds them. And in mastering it, you will hold dominion over their minds. Power is not seized by those who drown in feeling, nor by those who let the passions of the heart dictate their course. Power belongs to the cold, to the watchful, to the mind that stands apart, even as the world burns around it. This is what I call calculated detachment, the ability to remove oneself from the storm of emotion and act with reason when others are consumed by impulse. Men are ruled by desire, fear, anger, envy, love. They act swiftly, recklessly, and often to their own ruin. But the one who stands apart, who calculates instead of reacting, becomes the master of those who cannot control themselves. Think of the battlefield, not of swords and horses, but of daily life. A rival insults you, hoping to provoke rashness. A friend betrays you, seeking to wound your pride. An enemy flaunts his strength to lure you into a contest of ego. If you react with anger, with wounded vanity, with desperate need to answer every slight, then you have already lost. But if you remain calm, unmoved, unbroken, their power over you vanishes. They grow desperate when their provocations find no target. They stumble, exposing themselves, while you wait, calculating the precise moment to strike. This detachment is not the absence of feeling. It is the mastery of it. Every man feels anger, grief, temptation, but not every man commands those fires. The weak are consumed, the strong harness the flame. The detached mind sees emotions for what they are, tools to be used, or obstacles to be ignored. Love can be shown when it furthers your influence, mercy extended when it strengthens loyalty, rage displayed when it serves to terrify. But none of these emotions should own you. You must own them, release them or suppress them, as one unsheathes or sheathes a blade. Consider the ruler who governs not by impulse, but by calculation. When he rewards, he does so not out of affection, but because it cements loyalty. When he punishes, he does not act from blind rage, but because it teaches fear. To the crowd, he appears passionate, merciful, even wrathful, but within, his mind remains still, untouched by the emotions he displays. This is the secret of detachment. You may wear the mask of feeling, but beneath it you remain ice, measuring every outcome, untouched by the same storms that devour lesser men. The detached mind sees further than those chained to their passions. Imagine two men standing before a great fire. One feels only its heat, panics, and flees. The other, detached, studies its direction, its fuel, its weakness. While the first man runs blindly, the second learns how to control the flames. So it is with life. Those who are lost in the present, slaves to their immediate desires or fears, stumble endlessly. Those who detach, who step back and measure with cold precision, bend events to their will. But detachment does not mean isolation. A man who cuts himself off entirely from the world becomes a hollow shell, unable to influence others. The art lies in balance. You must stand close enough to understand men, yet distant enough not to be ruled by them. Listen to their words, study their hearts, but never let their passions infect you. Their panic should not become yours, their joy not your distraction, their anger not your downfall. Instead, remain as the surgeon, calm with the blade even as the patient screams. Focus not on sound, but on outcome. Calculated detachment is a shield as much as it is a weapon. How many leaders have fallen because they trusted too quickly, loved too deeply, or hated too openly? Emotion reveals weakness, and weakness invites attack. But when you are detached, men cannot read you. They search for signs of anger or affection, yet find only silence. And in that silence they begin to fear, for they cannot predict what you will do. Uncertainty is itself a form of power, and it belongs to the one who governs himself first. To practice this art, begin with discipline. When provoked, resist the urge to react. When tempted, resist the urge to surrender. When praised, resist the urge to bask. Each time you withhold reaction, your power grows. You begin to see the patterns others miss. You begin to act not from impulse but from design. Slowly, your mind becomes a fortress, impregnable to the assaults of passion. The world will rage outside your gates, but within, you will remain calm, deliberate, and utterly in control. This detachment will not make you less human. It will make you more than human. For while others are slaves to their fleeting emotions, you will be their master. They will marvel at your composure. They will whisper about your coldness. they will fear your patience, and as they burn themselves in the fire of their passions, you will stand above the ashes, untouched, unbroken, prepared to seize what they have destroyed with their own hands. There is a weapon sharper than any blade, quieter than any arrow, and more terrifying than any army. It is silence when combined with knowledge. Men are reckless with words, spilling their secrets, revealing their fears, betraying their weaknesses through endless chatter. They think talking makes them appear strong, but in truth, every careless word they utter is a piece of armor thrown away. The man who speaks little, who listens more, and who waits until the perfect moment to deliver his words, becomes a figure both feared and respected, for silence is not emptiness. It is a battlefield tactic, a mask that hides your true strength until it is time to strike. Imagine a council where voices clash, each man desperate to prove himself, eager to win admiration through noise. One interrupts another, one raises his tone, one drowns the room in argument. Yet in the corner sits a man silent, attentive, his face unreadable. He watches, he learns, he collects every fragment of weakness, spilled by those who cannot control their tongues. And when the noise has exhausted itself, when the room finally turns to him, he speaks a single sentence that cuts through the air like a blade. All fall silent because they know his words carry weight. His silence has made them hunger for his voice, and his knowledge, carefully hoarded, gives that voice the power of law. This is the art of weaponizing silence. It is not mere quietness. It is the refusal to give away your position, your thoughts, your strategy. It is letting others reveal themselves fully while you remain concealed. Silence unsettles men, for they cannot read what they cannot hear. They project their fears onto you, imagining strength where there is only patience, imagining certainty where there is only observation. The longer you withhold your words, the more they magnify your presence in their minds. But silence alone is not enough. To truly terrify with the mind, silence must be sharpened with knowledge. Knowledge is the ore from which your weapons are forged, the invisible army you carry within. Most men wander blind through life, slaves to rumors, chained by ignorance, distracted by trivialities. But the one who observes, who gathers facts, who studies patterns and remembers every detail, builds an arsenal invisible to the world. Every conversation overheard, every gesture noted, every inconsistency remembered. These are the weapons you store in silence. And when the moment comes to reveal them, your words will strike with devastating precision. Think of how men react when confronted with knowledge they did not expect you to possess. They stammer, they falter, they fear. For knowledge is not only power, it is control over perception, control over destiny itself. If you know a man's weakness, you already own him. If you know his secrets, you are his master. If you know the game he plays before he has even made his move, you have already won. And when you deliver this knowledge with calm, with silence preceding it, you do not merely speak. You deliver judgment. Consider how kings and rulers have always surrounded themselves with spies, with informants, with scholars. Why? Because knowledge multiplies their reach, and silence conceals their hand. The king who knows more than his enemies, but speaks less than his rivals, inspires dread. His subjects cannot predict his mind, his enemies cannot pierce his veil. Every decision he makes appears to come from an unseen depth. They call it genius, but often it is simply discipline. The discipline to observe more than one speaks, to know more than one reveals, to strike only when certainty has been secured. And do not think silence makes you invisible or forgotten. On the contrary, silence draws attention. The man who speaks endlessly blends into the noise. His words lose value because they are too abundant. But the man who speaks rarely becomes unforgettable. His silence is a question, a mystery, a tension that gnaws at those around him. They wonder what he is thinking, what he knows, what he plans. They begin to fear him not for what he has said, but for what he has not said. Silence magnifies presence, and when paired with knowledge, it becomes unbearable for those who face it. To weaponize silence and knowledge, you must cultivate patience. Resist the urge to answer every question, to defend yourself at every accusation, to fill every pause with sound. Let others drown in their words, while you gather strength in restraint. Learn always, from everything, from every person, even your enemies. Knowledge has no master, it will serve whoever seizes it. And when you finally speak, let your words be chosen as carefully as arrows loosed in battle. One sentence, spoken with precision, can do what hours of shouting cannot. In this way, your mind becomes a fortress armed not with noise, but with depth. Silence shields you from exposure, while knowledge arms you for conquest. Together they create an aura of inevitability, a sense that you see further, know more, and strike truer than anyone else. And those who face you, unable to read you, unable to match you, will find themselves already defeated before the contest has begun. You have now seen the path to forging a mind that terrifies. First, you learned the illusion of power, how to project certainty so that others submit before you even move. Then, mastery of perception, how to shape the way men see you, for their belief is stronger than truth. Next, calculated detachment, the art of commanding your passions so you may never be ruled by them. And finally, the weaponization of silence and knowledge, speaking less, observing more, and striking with precision when the moment demands. Understand this, the world bends not to those with the loudest voice or the strongest arm, but to those whose minds inspire fear, respect, and awe. A strong mind is not given, it is built, disciplined thought by disciplined thought, forged in silence, sharpened by patience, and wielded with purpose. Those who master these arts will no longer be dismissed, ignored, or manipulated. Instead, they will stand apart, commanding with their presence, their strategy, their silence, and their mind, so strong, so unshakable, that others tremble before it.